There are places on this earth where the geography itself seems to resist observation. In the eastern region of Ghana, the Atewa Range rises like a spine of green iron against the sky. It is one of the last remaining upland evergreen forests in West Africa. Biologists describe it as a biodiversity hotspot. Locals describe it differently. They say the ground belongs to the living, but the canopy belongs to something else. In mid-October of 1996, a survey team entered this forest on official assignment. They had been contracted by a private geological firm to map a disputed boundary line for a proposed mining concession. The task was considered routine. The team consisted of 4 men: Samuel Koomson, the lead surveyor, David Osei, a trained cartographer, and 2 field assistants, Isaac Addo and Peter Mensah. They were experienced, they were properly equipped, they were skeptical of local folklore. Within 12 days, the expedition would collapse. 2 men would disappear without trace. 2 would return alive, but unable to speak. And all that remains of what happened are fragmented audio recordings and a police report quietly filed away. This is the file on the Asiakwa Boundary Expedition. The Atewa forest is different from most tropical jungles. Its elevation creates a constant veil of mist. Visibility is often reduced to less than 20 meters. Sound behaves strangely here. According to the expedition logbook, recovered weeks later from the edge of the reserve, the team entered the forest on the morning of October 14th. For the first 3 days, progress was unremarkable. Samuel Koomson's notes described the terrain as difficult but navigable. On the evening of the 4th day, the tone of the documentation changes. In an entry time-stamped 1800 hours, David Osei records a discrepancy. After walking north for 6 hours, their compass indicated they had moved east, deeper into a restricted sector of the forest. In the margin of the logbook, Osei adds a short note. The canopy is too heavy. No light. Something is dropping stones. This detail matters. In local folklore, the forest canopy is said to be inhabited by entities known as the Asasabonsam. They are described as beings that never touch the ground, creatures believed to dwell exclusively in the trees. The survey team made no reference to myth. They only documented what they experienced, or more accurately, what they heard. By the 5th day, the team had established a temporary base referred to as Camp Delta. This location has never been officially identified. It exists only on the maps drawn by David Osei during those final days. A handheld audio recorder belonging to Isaac Addo provides the first physical evidence that something was wrong. The tape is labeled Day 5, Night. For nearly 3 hours, the recording captures silence. Then, at approximately 2 a.m., a sound appears. Forensic audio analysis later concluded the sound was not animal vocalization. It was metal striking wood. A dull, heavy impact, repeated, high above the microphone. The breathing of the men can be heard inside the tent. They are awake. They are listening. At the 14-minute mark, Samuel Koomson's voice is recorded. He whispers a single sentence.
Don't look up. Following that night, the psychological condition of the team declines rapidly. The logbook entries become erratic. Handwriting changes. Measurements contradict one another. Osei begins mapping terrain that does not exist, valleys that loop back on themselves, trees marked with symbols that match no known botanical classification. On the 8th day, Peter Mensa disappeared. According to the later testimony given by the families of the survivors, Mensa did not wander off. He was clearing brush less than 3 meters from the lead surveyor. Then there was a sudden rush of wind, a sharp snap of branches. Then silence. No scream, no struggle, just the sudden absence of a man. Search protocols were initiated immediately. A 50-meter radius was swept for 6 hours. The only item recovered was Mensa's machete. It was embedded 7 feet up in the trunk of a mature tree. The blade was bent at a right angle. There were no footprints, none leading away. On the 9th day, the remaining 3 men attempted to retreat. What followed is difficult to reconstruct. The recovered audio recordings from this period are heavily distorted. They show signs of electromagnetic interference that should not exist in a non-industrial environment. One segment, however, remains intact. It captures the men moving rapidly through dense undergrowth. Their breathing is labored. Panic is audible. It's tracking the movement. I can't see it. The fog is too thick. Not in the fog. Above the fog. The recording ends with the sound of a heavy impact, similar to a large mass falling from a great height. On October 26th, 12 days after entering the forest, Isaac Ado and David Osei stumbled onto a cocoa farm near the town of Kibi. Farmers who discovered them reported severe dehydration. Both men were disoriented. Neither could speak. They had deep, parallel lacerations across their shoulders and the tops of their heads. Medical examination later revealed trace amounts of oxidized iron and organic moss within the wounds. Samuel Kumsen and Peter Mensa were never found. Extensive search operations followed. Police units, forestry officials, tracking dogs, aerial surveys. The dogs refused to enter a specific sector of the forest. They whined. They lay down. They would not proceed. From above, the canopy appeared unbroken. The official report concluded the incident was caused by wildlife and environmental disorientation. The case was closed in 1999. The tapes were archived. The file went cold. There is one detail rarely mentioned. When the recovered equipment was analyzed, the team's altimeter displayed impossible readings. For the final 3 days, it recorded elevation not at ground level, but at a height consistent with the upper forest canopy, nearly 100 feet above the ground. Either the device malfunctioned, or for 3 days, the men were not walking on the forest floor. The Atewa Range remains protected. The boundary was never completed, and to this day, local guides advise travelers to keep their eyes on the path and to ignore any sound that resembles metal striking wood high above their heads. Some cases fade because answers were found. Others fade because the questions became too dangerous to pursue. This was one of them.